بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Alhamdulillah, we started the book of Umdat al-Fiqh, the foundation or the reliable source of fiqh, basically the rough translation by Ibn Qudam rahimahullah, and we finished the introduction last week in two parts. Today we'll start with the crux of the book, which is the main chapters now. So he starts with Kitab al-Tahara. Kitab in the Arabic language comes from kataba, which you guys know probably to write originally, but the original meaning means like inlam or ijtama', which means like come together or basically become a part of, in a sense. And that's how like the letters, when you put them together, they make words, right? Katiba, I don't know if you've heard of katiba. That's like a platoon in the army. They call it katiba. So that's where it means because of a group of people gathering together, right? So that's the original foundation of kataba. So he starts with kitab al-tahara. Kitab is when it's a whole book like we call this al-kitab. And also if it's a chapter that contains much information, each chapter is called kitab. So he starts with kitab al-tahara. After kitab, the authors in Islamic sciences or in general, they break up into abwab. So it starts with kitab, and then it goes to bab. Bab is like literally means a door, the opening. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. So you enter into that door. So kitab, then bab. That's like a sub chapter, I guess you could say. And then it goes to fasl, which is a subcategory of the bab. And then it goes to masail, like different issues, and then to tamat, completing the meanings of the chapters. So you'll see some books break it up like that. But anyways, when you start with kitab, that means there's going to be a lot of information in that. So kitab al-tahara, the book of purification, is going to cover many of the issues that have to do with purification in terms of the categories of water, how to make wudu, how to make ghusl, what breaks wudu, what requires ghusl, the woman's menstrual cycle, all these things under kitab al-tahara. It won't be befitting to say, for example, kitab al-miswak, like the chapter of siwak, right? Because there's not enough information there. So they would call it bab al-siwak. But the kitab is basically the whole chapter that has most of the information in it. Right? So that's what kitab means. In ibadah, or in fiqh, I should say, it's divided into two main categories: ibadat and mu'amalat. So ibadat covers the worship, like salat and zakat and siyam and hajj, right? That's the ibadat. And it's befitting to start with that because that's the most important thing in life. Like that's what we were created for, basically to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you'll see in most of the books of fiqh, it starts with the ibadat. And then it goes to mu'amalat. Mu'amalat is transactions. It can be business transactions, marriage issues, like qada, the rulings in the courts, shahadat, khusumat, all these different types of issues that are mu'amalat, actions, right? So the authors of fiqh usually start with ibadat because that's the most important thing in our lives. And then they go to mu'amalat. Mu'amalat is also very important for us because we want to do things halal, right? We want to do things in the right way. But the most important is how to worship Allah correctly. So that's why the authors, they usually start with al-ibadat. Al-tahara, so we talked about kitab. Al-tahara means purification, right? And in the Arabic language, it's basically meaning something that removes away from filth or dirt, right? In Islam, tahara is sifatun hukmiyatun tujib istibahat as-salat wa nahwiha mimma yashtarat al-tahara. So it's basically like a ritual purification. With it, you can are able to make salat, offer salat, and other forms of worship that require tahara, right? What other forms of worship require tahara? So he's saying the definition of tahara, in the linguistic definition, it's basically a naqa' min ad-danas, basically being free from filth or impurities, right? But in the Islamic definition, it's sifatun hukmiyatun tujib istibahat salat wa nahwiha mimma yashtarat laha at-tahara. So basically he's saying that it's a characteristic meaning, like a kind of a symbolic characteristic. With it you are able to offer salat and other forms of worship like salat. So it's just asking what other forms of worship do you require tahara for? You don't know any other form of worship that you need wudu or ghusl for?
When you're in like a place where no water.
No, you need like you have to be in a state of tahara to offer certain types of worship. Tawaf, yes, going around in tawaf, you need tahara. Reading or touching the mushaf, according to some scholars, you need to be upon tahara, and any other act that you need tahara for. So, this is what this chapter is about. The entering into this chapter of tahara, purification. It says he starts off bab tahara. Sorry, purification. There's three types basically. So there's ritual purification, there's physical purification, and there's spiritual purification. So ritual purification is taharat min al-hadath, al-asghar wal-akbar. So hadath is something that happens that the sharia has taught us breaks our tahara, right? Like using the bathroom, you know, having sexual relations, a woman having her menstrual cycle, these type of things break the tahara. Some of them require taharat al-sughra, the minor tahara, minor form of purification, and some require the taharat al-kubra, which is like ghusl, right? So wudu or ghusl. The hadath is what's removed with taharat from the ritual purification, right? For example, if somebody, passes gas, right? You don't see the physical impurity, but it's ritual impurity, so he has to make wudu, right, for doing that. So that's taharat min al-hadath. That's the ritual purification. The physical purification, taharat min al-najasat, is like removing physical impurities, right? Physical impurities from your body, right? If you have najasa upon you, you have to wash it off before you can pray. From the place that you're going to do the prayer, it has to be clean. Your clothing, if it has any najasa on it, you have to remove it also, right? So the physical removal of impurities. That's what this chapter is going to be talking about. The spiritual tahara is cleansing the heart, freeing the heart from shirk and hatred and envy and lust for lower desires and these type of things, right? That's a different subject that we covered before in our book of Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, right? That's talking about it. But this one's going to be focusing now on Kitab al-Tahara, about the physical and the ritual impurities and removing them. Yes.
I was going to say, does dirt count like on the clothing?
So, yeah, dirt is not considered, actually it's a form of purification. Like you can make tayammum with dirt, right? So it's not, najis is basically the filth that's described by the Sharia, that's something that becomes impure. So, for example, urine or feces, some scholars say blood, right? These type of things are considered impurities, right? But regular dirt from the earth is not an impurity.
And there's a way, a specific way of cleaning that too, right? You don't just throw it in the washer and then that's right?
Yes, that's what this chapter is basically about. The first, what we can use to clean it, and how we can clean it, and basically what makes it allowing us to offer the salat. So this is all wasa'il to the salat, right? The Kitab al-Tahara is basically what you need before you can offer salat. And you can see like the hikmah of the Imam and most of the fuqaha, how they order their books is very logical. So they'll start now with, bab ahkam al-miyah, the water, right? Then he talks about the vessels or the containers, what holds the water. Then the etiquette of using the bathroom, that's how you break the wudu, right? You need to, how to use the bathroom properly. How to make wudu, what breaks the wudu. How to make ghusl, what requires ghusl. And then he talks about the tayammum, right? Wiping over the socks. The hayd, the woman's menstrual cycle, which is the major breaking of the wudu, or the ghusl, requiring ghusl, and the postpartum bleeding. That's how he orders the chapters, and we're going to go through each one inshallah in a little bit of detail. So for purification, tahara, to occur, you have three requirements, right? You need something to purify with, which is what? Water, right? And if there's no water, then dirt, tayammum. Then you need the thing that's going to get purified, right? And that's either, if we're doing the ritual purification, the parts of wudu, for example, or ghusl, or the clothing or the place that we're going to pray in, right? So our personal bodies, our clothes, or the place we're going to pray in, that's to be purified. And then the third category is the way you purify yourself. So making wudu correctly or making ghusl correctly, right? If any of these things aren't present, the tahara is not correct. So if you have water there, right, and you have yourself, but you don't perform wudu correctly, there's no tahara, right? Or if you have filth on the ground and water and you don't pour and wash the filth correctly, there's no tahara. So you need these three arkan for your tahara to be correct. So he starts bab ahkam al-miyah, like we said, after kitab comes the bab, right? The sub chapter, the sub category. Ahkam is the plural of hukum, right? And hukum is the basically ruling of the sharia, or what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam have prescribed upon us. Miyah, al-miyah is the plural of ma, right? And he used the plural form because there's different types of waters. Naturally occurring waters, there's many different types. Like you have oceans, you have streams, you have rivers, you have wells, you know, naturally occurring different types of water, rainwater, snow, ice, etc. And in Islam, you have different categories of water in terms of being pure in itself, mixed with pure and impure, right? So that's why he says, Bab Ahkamul Miyah, the rulings of the different types of waters. The three types of water, we'll start with the chapter. He says, خلق الماء طهورا يطهر من الأحداث والنجاسات ولا تحصل الطهارة بماء غيره. He says that water which is created pure in of itself, and it purifies other things from ritual impurities and physical impurities, and purity cannot be attained with any other type of liquid. And we're going to get into this inshallah. So he starts out with طهور. طهور is the water باق على أصل خلقته, so the water that was in its original forms. So like the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, the streams, rainwater that's come down from the sky, you know, ponds, even the wells, all these type of things are ma' tuhur, water that's upon its original characteristic, right? And ma' tuhur means it's pure in itself, and you can use it to purify other things. You can purify yourself by making ritual purification, wudu or ghusl, and you can clean off impurities with it. Like if najasa got on the floor or on your clothing, you can use that water to purify it. That's ma' tuhur. The second category of water is ma' tahir. Tahir is pure, or it's clean, but it's not purifying, right? That means that water, something mixed with it that's not from its original creation, not from its original being, existence, or how it, you know, is in the open, but something outside of it came and mixed with it and made it into something else. So with a purity. So for example, tea. You know, if you have water and you put a tea bag in it, it changes from tuhur to tahir. You can use it's pure enough to drink it, and you can use it for, like, you know, taking in substance, for example, but you can't use it for ritual purification or to remove najasa anymore, because it's not tuhur anymore. Is that clear? Okay. And then you have ma najis. Najis means that it's become an impurity has fell into it, right? And it's changed either its color or its taste or its scent. So if you have pure water and its color or its taste or its scent changes with something else pure, you know, that becomes ma tahir. And if it changes, if najasa falls in it and it changes its color or its taste or its scent, and it becomes najis, and you can't use that. It's not pure in itself. You can't use it for drinking, for example, or to cool yourself down or anything like that. And you can't use it to clean, obviously, because it's najis, it's filth, it's dirty, it's impure. Everything good? Yes.
So, for example, like when people swim, they like pee in the river or whatever.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a river as being
Tahur.
tahur. So, could you still use that, or does the quantity matter? Like, you know.
We're gonna get into the quantity right now, but just to answer briefly, you can still use it. It's fine, as long as it hasn't changed. You know, that would be a lot of urine to change a whole river. So if it hasn't changed its, you know, color or its taste or its scent, you can still use it. Like say, for example, you're in an ocean, and I'm not trying to be offensive or anything like that, but I don't know, say somebody was right next to you and he had an accident and did his, whatever, and you see the defecation going by. Obviously, you can still make ghusl or wudu with that ocean water, because the water is so great, right? If something changes, it's like the amount is so great. Like for example, they pour in sewage with feces and urine, all types of impurities, into a smaller like pond or a creek, and it changes its color and it changes or its taste or its scent. In that sense, then it becomes najis. But as long as it didn't change any of those three characteristics, it stays pure, and you can make wudu with it or ghusl with it. الطهور, the meaning of طهور comes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طُهُورًا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we sent down from the sky pure water, ma طهور, right? وَأَلْسَوْ وَيَنَزِّلُ عَلَيْكُمْ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً لِيُطَهِّرُكُمْ, Allah sends down water so that you may purify yourselves with it. So this is where the scholars get the word for طهور, ma طهور, the pure water that you can use to purify yourselves in ritual purification, or clean other things that need to be cleaned for physical purification. Tahir, that comes from, the scholars derive it, this is the majority of scholars, they say there's three categories of water, right, that I just went through. You'll find some other opinions, they're like kind of a minority, they say there's only two categories of water, but I think the evidence supports the majority of scholars, which is that there's three categories. Because their dalil is that one of the Sahaba, or some of the Sahaba, they asked the Prophet ﷺ when they were going on their journeys in the ocean, on the boats, they only have enough water for drinking, right? And if they made wudu with it, they would become thirsty, right? So they asked the Prophet ﷺ, is the water of the ocean permissible to make wudu with, right? And the Prophet ﷺ said, huwa طهور ماؤه الحل ميتته, that it's water, it's pure, and its carcass, the death, the things that die in the sea are still pure for you as well, right? So the scholars derive from that saying that the Sahaba, they knew there's some other type of category of water, because the salt water, the water with the salt is mixed with salt, the taste is different. So they knew there's something else, so that's why they asked the Prophet ﷺ. So the scholars say, therefore, the Sahaba understood that there's three categories of water. You have the pure water, which there's no doubt about, which that's existing as it came down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you have the water that's mixed with something else. That's why they asked it. And then you have the najis, the water that's najis, and that comes from the different ahadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he showed that if any type of najasa falls upon the earth or upon your clothing, it's supposed to be removed, right? And that's like the woman, he told the Sahabiya that she had some blood for her clothing. He said to wash it with water, right, to purify it, to remove the najasa. Or the Arabi, the Bedouin person who urinated in the masjid, he told the Sahaba to pour water over it to remove the najasa. So those are the three categories of water. يطهر من الأحداث والنجاسات. الأحداث, we mentioned, those things that break your ritual purification, right? In terms of passing gas, or touching your private part, or having anything coming out of the two pathways, urination, defecation. If you have najasa coming out of your body, other than the two normal pathways, sometimes like if you have a deep flesh wound, according to some scholars, that requires wudu. These type of things, or for ghusl, if a person has sexual intercourse, or if a woman has her menstrual cycle, these are ahdath. Ahdath sughra, which I mentioned first, and ahdath kubra, which require ghusl. If you have, like the Prophet ﷺ, this comes from the hadith, لا يقبل الله صلاة أحدكم إذا أحدث حتى يتوضأ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept the salat of any of you if he has hadath, what I just mentioned, until he makes wudu. So that's where the scholars get that term hadatha from. ولا تحصل الطهارة بماء غيره. So purification is not achieved by anything other than water, right? There's an issue or difference amongst the scholars. The majority of scholars, like the Malikiya, the Hanabila, which is this Imam's main madhab, and the Shafi'iyya, I believe, they say that if najasa is present, or to make purification, you need to use only water to remove it, right? So if you have chemicals, or say you poured orange juice or tea, it might have physically gotten rid of that najasa, but these scholars say that the purification is not achieved because you're not using water. Like we use our rulings according to the Sharia, so the terms that we learn, that the Prophet ﷺ taught us to clean or to achieve purity, tahara, is to use water, right? You'll find another opinion. I'm just telling you. Like I don't want to expand too much in the different opinions, but if there's some, I will mention it just so you know. There's other opinions out there. So like Ibn Taymiyyah and I think some of the Hanafiya, they say that if you use something and it achieves purity, so for example like chemicals, or you put your clothes in the dry cleaners, something like that. If this achieves the removal of najasa or the filth, it becomes pure, and even though it's not water, specifically water, right? But to be safe, it's always better to go with the jumhur, the majority of scholars, and it's a form of worship. So what we have from the text from the Quran and the Sunnah is the Prophet ﷺ taught us to use water to remove to achieve ritual purification and to remove physical impurities. Is that clear?
But what about like say urine, right? That scent still will be there if you just use water. So don't you think you will still need some type of chemicals?
No, if you use water to achieve to wash it out, it won't. The scent won't remain like. Yeah.
Because like some stuff that that smell will just still be there.
Yeah. So sometimes if you have traces, like a tiny trace of scent or a tiny trace, for example, of like say there's blood on the clothing, the scholars, they say that you wash it to the point where no more blood is coming out. So there might be like a stain there that never comes out, but you've achieved purification by washing it with the water, right? Or they said like when the dogs lick a bowl, for example, you're supposed to wash it 7 times, 1 time with dirt, right? Even though you might not physically see the najasa, but it's the purity is achieved by following that. Or most things, for achieving the purity, you have to wash it 3 times, right? You've achieved your goal in terms of purification. فإذا بلغ الماء قلتين أو كان جاريا لم ينجسه شيئا إلا ما غير لونه أو طعمه أو ريحه وما سوى ذلك ينجس بمخالة نجاسة والقلتان ما قارب 108 أرطال بدمشق. So he's saying that when the water amount is equal to قلتين, and we'll talk about قلتين, nothing can render it impure except if it changes its taste, its color, its taste, or its scent, right? And qullatain, according to this Imam, is approximately 108 Damascus pounds. According to like our measures, is about between 43 and 50 gallons of water. So a great amount of water, basically. So the Imam is saying that if the water reaches that level, qullatain, approximately 50 gallons, 40 to 50 gallons of water, and it doesn't, and najasa falls into it, it does not become impure, unless it changes what? Its color, taste, or scent, right? If it changes one of those 3 awsaf, 3 characteristics, then it becomes whatever it's changed with. So if something pure falls into the water, like say rose water, right? Say like, I don't know, somebody poured in, it was 50 gallons of water, and they poured in 20 gallons of rose water and it mixed with it, and then the taste and the scent changed it to rose water. In that sense, it becomes tahir, right? Because it's changed one of its 3 characteristics. You can't use that for purification purposes anymore. Or if it changes with najasa, right? If like we said, sewage, they poured tons of sewage into that above qullatain, and they changed one of its 3 characteristics. And that way it becomes najis also. You can't use it. But in general, if it's above qullatain or more, like 40, 50 gallons or more, and something falls into it, if it doesn't change any of those 3 characteristics, it's pure, right? That's the jumhur or the ijma' of the ulama almost. Basically, all the scholars are agreement upon that. When it goes under qullatain, that's where the difference of opinion occurs. So according to this imam, if it's under qullatain and something falls into it, if it doesn't change its color, its taste, or its scent, and it's a pure substance, he considers it still like okay to use, basically. But if najasa falls into it, even though it doesn't change its color, its taste, or its scent, it becomes impermissible to use. This is according to the Imam Ibn Qudama. According to The Malikiya, another narration on Imam Ahmed, another narration, a minor narration on Imam Shafi'i, and Ibn Taymiyyah and other scholars, they say as long as the scent or the color or the taste doesn't change, even if it's less than qullatayn, it's still okay to use it, right? And I think that's the easier and the stronger opinion, because the Prophet ﷺ, in another narration, he was asked about a well called Bir al-Bida'a, right? It was a well in Medina that the Sahaba, some of them would throw all their filth in there. You know, things with blood on it, things with dirty najasa, all this type would throw it in there, right? And it's less than qullatayn, most likely. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-ma'u tuhur la yunajjishu shay'an." That water is pure, nothing can corrupt it or purify or make it corrupt, right? So scholars derive from that, as long as the water hasn't changed its color, its taste, or its scent, you can use it for purification purposes. It's easier too, because you might see a body of water and you're not sure is that qullatayn or not, right? Even the narration about qullatayn, I'm not going to get into it in terms of like if it's authentic or there's disputed issues about that. But in general, let's say it is authentic. How would you tell what is qullatayn or not? If you're just looking at a body of water. But if you can see it change its color or its taste or its scent, that's the easy way to know. Less or more than qullatayn, it's a simple way. Wallahu a'lam. That might be the stronger opinion. So this is the main issues from this first part of the chapter. We'll, just for time purposes, inshallah, we'll keep it short tonight. And I want you to memorize this basic issues, inshallah, so you should know the 3 categories of water and what qullatayn is and what's the ruling if it changes its color, its taste, or its scent, right? If it's above qullatayn or less than qullatayn. And if you have any questions now, you can ask, inshallah.
What is the ruling on like cat feces or like animals in general? I know there's some animals like dogs and I think pigs.
Yeah.
I don't know other than that if there would be any animals that would be considered impure if.
So the animals that you can eat from their meat, their dung, their feces are considered pure. They're not impure, right? And all the other animals that you're not supposed to eat from their meat, right? Or human beings, obviously, their urine and feces are considered impure, right? And we'll get into some of those too, like what is a purity, what's the impurity, inshallah. If the water is running in general, and it isn't, it's like it's usually like strong motion, that usually doesn't become najis, right? Because usually it's always changing, so it's always renewing itself. If the waters are huge bodies, obviously the same thing. It's hard to become najis because you have to use so much to change it, right? So the main issue is when it's a stagnant body of water. That's where the scholars debate, in terms of if it's more than qullatayn or less than qullatayn, if it changes its color or its taste or its scent. If it doesn't change its color or taste or scent, right? So if you want to be on the safe side, and you have a choice of water, obviously, like say you have 2 buckets, one of the buckets, some urine fell into it, even though it didn't change its color, its taste, or its scent, you have another bucket that's totally pure, obviously, you can use the bucket that's totally pure, right? There's no doubt about it. It's easy, but those saying, for example, you're in the desert, or you're camping, or you don't have access to water, and you have just a couple of gallons, right, and a small najasa falls into it, can you use it for wudu or not? Right, that's where it comes down to. So according to the Malikiya and the Hanafiya and the Ibn Taymiyyah's tarjih also is that you can, as long as it doesn't change its color, its taste, or its scent. So in terms.
If you're not comfortable using that water, can you choose normal?
If you follow the opinion of the Imam, yeah, you can just make tayammum, yeah, because according to their madhab, even if it's less, the water's less than qullatayn, it can carry najasa, right? And that's like I said, if they see this hadith as authentic, right? Some of the other scholars don't see this hadith as authentic, the qullatayn hadith. So that's where the difference arises. Yeah.
So what about that same scenario with the 2 buckets? You remembered one of them was impure and the other one was pure, but then you forgot. And then it was time to pray. What do you do in that situation?
That's actually a chapter coming up. Exact question you asked, mashallah. Yeah, you can stay tuned, but just to give you like a, I guess what do you call it, those trailer. Yeah, if you okay, so according to the Imam, you have one bucket that's ma najis and one ma tahur, right? And you're not sure which is which. Let's see, what do you guys think? Should you do? Put them together, then they can become najis. It's less than khulatain.
I'll just, try to smell it. Yeah, go through the process.
You can't smell it, you don't see the taste, but according to the, you say tayammum?
I said just, you don't know, so just swallow Allah, man. Yeah.
So if you wash with the najis one first, then you're gonna have najis upon you. You're putting najis, and that's not permissible. If you wash with the najis one second, you're making wudu with najis, and that's not permissible either, right? So like he said, in this case, you make tayammum.
But what do you don't know?
You make tayammum.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah. Because tayammum is yaqeen, you're certain, right? The other way, you'll be putting najasa on you one way or the other. So to avoid that, the scholars, according to Imam here, is that you make tayammum. If it was najis, astaghfirullah, if it was tahur and tahir, according to the Imam, we'll read it also. In that one, you make wudu with both of them, because there's no najasa on there, so tahir won't affect you, right? Just like you make wudu with both of them. If it's tahir and tahur, you make and you're not sure which is which, you make wudu with both of them, right? If it's tahir or tahur and najis, you have to make tayammum, because the najis on your body is not acceptable, or making wudu with najis is not acceptable, right? That's what fiqh is about, alhamdulillah. So, which one? So yeah, if you have two buckets, one is tahir and one is tahur, in that case you make wudu with both of them, right? Because you're not putting najasa upon yourself. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so tahur is pure in itself, and it can purify others, like the natural waters, like oceans and rain, and even ice or snow, or anything that's in its pure original format that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. And tahir is pure water that's become mixed with something else that's pure, right? But it's changed from its original being. The water in the you see sometimes in the sea, like algae, you get there and it kind of changes its color. That's naturally occurring substance, so that's not affected. You could still use that water, right? Or sometimes like rivers or creeks, you'll see they're kind of a little bit muddy with the dirt and the rocks moving through it. That's still okay to use, right? I mean, it's changing with something like an outside foreign substance changes it. So if I have like a bucket of water and I put some rose water into it and it changes its taste, you can't use that water anymore for purification purposes, right? You can use it to drink because it's tahir, but you can't use it for making wudu or removing other filth. So if you guys inshallah get the PDF version and just read the first chapter, this first part, and then we'll get more detail and I'll move a little bit faster next dars inshallah.
Like, is this the same book you used when you first showed us?
Yeah, that was the introduction.
Okay.
Yeah. So
You have the PDF in the WhatsApp group? Or do you have to purchase it?
The PDF is in the WhatsApp, and you can purchase it as well if you want on Amazon. Yeah, I think you're in the group, right? Or okay, inshallah. طيب سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك جزاكم الله خيرا